Hey, it's Nathan Live. This is from Sound Design Live, and today I'm going to show you how I wrote some of the snapshots for Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Out of This World show. When you're writing snapshots, the first thing you do is just hit Insert New, and you give it a name, so something like 1.0 test. And when you write a snapshot, it records every parameter on the desk. There's no way to stop that. Everything gets recorded. The control you have is what actually gets recalled later. And that is controlled by the global scope and the recall scope. So I never changed the global scope, pretty much left everything on. What I did change a lot of is the recall scope. So when you open recall scope, you can see that you have all of your channels here, and you can choose which parts of them, input, delay, faders, mute, will be recalled. And in my case, for most of the snapshots, I just want fader and mute. The fader and mutes are the only things I want recalled with most of these snapshots. So the first thing I did was I created a snapshot for every song in the show and every act that recalled all of the input channels, fader, mute, and control groups. Now, I mixed most of the show with the control groups, so those were also really important. So once I created all of those, then I could go back with the recording of the show, multi-track recording. I could set the snapshots for each of those. And that's really easy to do on the SD5. So I would just recall that snapshot. I would make a change, and then I would use the auto button, because usually it was just one or two things. It wasn't like every fader. If it's every faded, like if I changed like every input and every control group, then I would hit update selected. And you can see if I change something here, it says changed, but I hit update selected and it updates that snapshot. Now, if I just need to change one thing, I hit auto, move that fader, or hit that mute, and then hit auto again. You want to be really careful with this, though, because several times I've messed up several snapshots by hitting auto, leaving that on, and then like I'm running the show, and then I realize I've screwed up a bunch of snapshots. So a good practice, I think, is to hit auto, leave your finger here, and do not move your finger until you're done, and you hit auto again. The other really important features that I've been using with the snapshot are crossfades, because we already talked about recall scope. Crossfades, this is really important. So especially transitions between these songs, I don't want to just snap into a bunch of different volume changes because the band doesn't stop playing normally. The drummer's doing some cymbal rolls, there may be some other transitional sound effects and things like that. So crossfades are really important. So a quick way to get to any channel, either in the recall scope page or this crossfade page, is if you just tap on the fader, it'll take you, because they're touch sensitive, it'll take you straight there. So click on the fader, crossfade, and I'll add like 2 seconds, close, and that way, if this fader is way down here for the previous number, then when I fire the snapshot, it's going to take 2 seconds to fade back up. And I did a lot of that in a lot of different places to make the transition between snapshots really seamless and to just help me overall operate the show. Here's another really important thing to know how to do. Let's say that you've written all the snapshots for your show and then you realize that you actually want a little bit more horn, a little bit more of the horn group in every one of your snapshots. It's not that hard. All you have to do is add all of your snapshots, or maybe a group of them, to a group. Now remember that a group can only be a series of snapshots. So if there's one in between that you don't want to change, that can't be in the same group. Anyway, what you would do is one by one, you would select the snapshot you wanted, and then click Add to Group. And it takes a little while if you have a bunch of snapshots, but at least you have the ability to do that. You might think, what if I just leave all of my snapshots in a group all the time? Then I could update them anytime I wanted. You could do that, but you could pretty easily get screwed because if you accidentally bump this update group button or you bump this update group button, then everything's going to get updated, and the undo button does not fix that. So you would have to go back to a previously saved session. So what I recommend, leave everything out of the group, and just if you ever need to update anything, then just go back, add all of your snapshots to the group. Make sure you turn on relative groups. Well, let me take you step by step through it. So add all of your snapshots to the group. Recall any snapshot that includes the feature, the detail that you want to change. For example, we were talking about the horn group. So I would fire the snapshot. I would change the horn group. I would make sure that relative groups is on, because I don't want to change every snapshot so that this horn group is at -5. I actually just want to add 3 decibels to every snapshot. So if in snapshot 2, it's down here, I'll just add 3. Okay, so I recalled the snapshot. I made the change I wanted. I hit relative groups, and then I either press the update group button here or the update group button here. And if you did everything right, it should take a second if you have a snapshot. Let me share one more feature with you that could come in handy. I didn't use it very often, but I definitely use it at the top of the show. Recall times. This is kind of a cool feature where you can have a snapshot be recalled for you. So you can see here that in snapshot 3.5, I have it a duration of 4 minutes and 28 seconds, and then it'll automatically go to the next snapshot. So the first couple of pieces of music in this show are all playback, and so it's the same timing every night. And so instead of me trying to remember the exact fader movements every night, I just program those in. So let's say that I enter another snapshot. I'll call it 2.0 test 2. And what I'm going to do is go to, where was I? Recall times. And I'll give test 1 a recall time of 2 seconds. So when I fire test 1, 2 seconds, it's going to go into the next snapshot all by itself. So that wasn't very fun to watch. So let's say that in snapshot 2, I'm going to change these and these. We'll go back up, fire that snapshot, gives it 2 seconds, and then it snaps into the next one. And now that's probably too harsh of a snap, so I probably need to add some crossfades there. So I go to crossfades, tap on the horn channel, go over here. Maybe that needs a 1 second crossfade. Maybe guitar needs a 4 second crossfade. Now when I go back here, click on test 1, then we have a gentler transition into the next one. Here is another feature that I use a little bit, but this is how I set up the SD5 to control QLab. Super simple. All I had to do was click on the snapshot that I wanted to control QLab and tell it which note and the velocity to output when that snapshot was fired. Click here, turn that on, select the velocity, put in a number, make sure that it's a note on command. That's when I set up in QLab. And then over in QLab, I just put in those exact numbers. And that's how I use snapshots to basically trigger pre-show, intermission, and post-show music so that I don't have to fire a snapshot, reach over, and do something with QLab. It's just all controlled from here. That is the meat of how I created the snapshots for Ringling Brothers and Barnum & Bailey Out of This World tour. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below this video and I'll try to answer them.